myself working for the Green Room NYC, and I was like, all in the space of a month, I'd made these really good connections. Not even connections, they're my friends, like Patrick, Cormac, Jack. They took me under their wing and showed me the ropes, and really good guys, and I'm so grateful for that. It's also worth saying, if you guys haven't heard of Patrick Green or the Green Room, you have to look it up. He is the OG of the nightlife scene in New York. He hosts different events and different parties, and if you're looking for a good night out, even to get into the clubs in New York, get on to Patrick. VIP service, bottle service, table service. It is literally the ultimate treatment. So definitely check him out. And it's not just the nightclubs he does, he's all different events as well. So it's very, very cool guy, really sound guy. Send him a message if you're ever in New York. So fast forward 2 months from now, everything is just going really well. Everything started to take off. More and more gigs were coming in. I was gigging in the Mean Fiddler, Haswell's Greens, and there was so much happening so fast that I almost had to take a step back or pick or choose what I wanted, or I suppose the gigs that benefited me the most. And there was never a dull moment after this. Like, I could barely fit in a night out with myself and the lads. And that's how busy it got. But obviously there was always time for a few pints, and with the mates I've had, they were always on board. Like, the stories I could tell you from here are endless, but that's not what I'm here to do. But thankfully, after the housing situation, there was never really any more big struggles. And that's what amazed me about New York, was that once I overcame that, I fitted in so well into the city that would have always scared me, like that, for its aggressiveness, and the city that never sleeps, even though I love my sleep. And New York did to me what I thought LA would have done, and that's swallowed me up. Like, it took me a long time to find my ground, even though I landed on my feet in terms of meeting people and different gigs I got. But it just took me a while before I could actually take a step back and be like, okay, is this what I really want? I found myself doing things every single day, and I was just so busy that I was essentially in the Empire State of Mind kind of bubble, hustling, grinding, just, doing everything I could to keep up with the pace of the city. So it took me a while to take a step back and I suppose set my own kind of pace, if that makes sense, and do things on my terms. And I thought LA would have done that to me, but it didn't, and New York definitely did. It like, in a way, I suppose the city did tire me, especially towards the end of it. New York has a way of just like overwhelming you, and I suppose getting a grip of you. And it took me a long time to really find a routine that worked. But I found out that it wasn't only me. Like, New York does that to you, it drains you. And the secret to living in New York apparently is getting out of it every 6 to 8 weeks for a weekend away. Just because it'll fry your head, like that constant buzz, the constant energy, and the horns blown, and it's a lot sometimes. This will kind of give you a sense of how much it fried my head, or how badly I needed to get away. It was midsummer. I just needed to get away, get a bit of a holiday somewhere, and I went to Nashville to visit a friend of mine, Raya, for 3 nights. I went with a couple of buddies of mine from New York, but they were going on to Mexico after the Nashville flight. I had to come back because I had a gig in New York on the Sunday. But obviously we did whatever we did in Nashville. But the Saturday night, we had a couple of drinks too many, and the boys are like trying to persuade me to come to Mexico with them on Sunday morning. And I was like, lads, I can't go. I have to be back in New York now on Sunday evening. I can't, just stop. But they kept at me, and I suppose a couple of drinks later, at 2:30 Saturday night, I went into the bathroom and I booked flights to Mexico. I woke up, oh God, that was bad. I woke up to a text message saying your flight leaves in 3 hours. I'm like, what flight? Are you serious? So anyway, I booked it, and I had the most hungover flight of my life to Texas, and from Texas on to Mexico. I just didn't want to. It's not that I didn't want to go back to New York. I suppose after 3 nights, I just wasn't really ready because it was so long then I'd been away from it. So yeah, I booked an all-inclusive resort to Mexico with the lads for 5 nights. It was the best drunk decision I had ever made. That flight from Nashville to Mexico with the layover in Texas was probably one of the biggest struggles I ever came over in New York. How I came out of that alive was a story in itself. This brings me on to my third point, and that was, what did I do in New York that really challenged me? And I suppose the one thing that I did that really was a real tester to where I was mentally, I suppose, that was the helicopter ride over New York City. So if you listened to my episode 1 where I talked about fighting fears, I had a really bad fear of flying along with other things, but flying was just something I wasn't really good at, heights in general. So this was, I suppose, a real tester. No one in New York had really known that about me, so this was something I kind of kept to myself. And even though I was ready for it, I kind of wanted to see how ready I was mentally, I suppose, and if I was going to do it or not. So I did it with one of my best friends, Carol, and she just dragged me on it. I don't know how she did it because she was hungover as fuck. Like, I was like, what am I doing? I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. Well, the evening came anyway. I was over in New Jersey. I flew with Flyon. They're a company over in New Jersey, so we had to go all the way over to New Jersey to get it. And I'd only heard like such stories, you know, of like helicopter rides over New York City at night and all that kind of stuff. And I never really questioned myself about it until the opportunity arose. But I didn't really know what I was getting myself into until I got there, and you know, they were showing us a clips of what to expect. I was like, oh Lord, get me out now. But then I thought to myself, after everything I'd been through, which I talked about in episode 1, Fighting Fears, I knew if I could just do this, that would be the final nail on putting this fear of flying to bed. And what better way to do it than flying over New York City at night in a helicopter with doors off, strapped in with just a seatbelt. Like absolute madness. What was worrying me a little bit was the fact I wasn't even getting the butterflies. I wasn't even getting like a nervous feeling. I was just kind of numb. I was like, are we doing it? Are we up now? And we were sitting there with 2 other people on the plane. Or was it 2 or 3 other people on the plane? And I was out near the door, like out near the real edge. I'm 6'3", so my legs were crippled. Like I was just trying to hold them in. But my knee was hanging out over. I was like, is this safe? Am I supposed to be on the edge? It's just, yeah, it's fine. All I have is a seatbelt. I was like, if this seatbelt comes loose, it's goodbye, Shane. But anyway, we departed from New Jersey and we flew over Midtown, like right above the Empire State Building. And then he started to hover just above the Empire. I was like, you can keep going. But we were there anyway. And he kind of said to us in our earpiece, he was like, okay, you can turn your feet and put your feet out over the Empire. I was like, what? Savage. So I did it. I put my feet out over the Empire and it was just sick feeling, like so cool. And the pictures we got were really, really cool as well. Then from there, they went on down to Lower Manhattan and up close and personal with the Statue of Liberty. And again, every landmark, they let you put your feet out over. So you're essentially flying over New York with your feet out. I don't know how high they were. They're definitely a couple of thousand feet up. When it was all over, I was thinking to myself, I would have never done that this time last year. There was essentially like no real fear. It was just excitement. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. At that point, I was like, you're no longer afraid of flying. You're no longer afraid of heights. You have managed to calm yourself, especially when you did it with doors off. Like we had the option to do doors on or doors off. And I said, you know what? We're here. It's doors off. Let's do it. You know, so in one sense, I suppose I'm proud of myself, but then it's just like the tools and the meditation and everything I learned or talked about in episode 1 just came into effect, and it was like I was in a completely different mindset. Part of me was afraid that how I'd react up in the air, like especially with doors off, being at the edge, you know, with just I suppose a seatbelt in. I'm like, did this even feel safe? But part of me was like, obviously it did feel safe. They wouldn't be doing it if it didn't. But I just thought that it's very hard to talk about this. I'm like, how can I go from, you know, being in that state, that like once this fear of flying that had gripped me and I couldn't even, I suppose, look out a window of a plane. And now I just feel so free and loose over New York City at nighttime. The lights, the energy from the city, the views, just everything came. It was like a moment of congratulations. This is the final nail. If you can do this, the world is your oyster. It was something that Carol and I had always talked about doing. And we always kind of wanted to do something in New York. And she was going home, I think, the week after that. So she wanted to do something big to end her year in New York. So that's why I had that little push to do it. But then again, that's all part of it. You don't know who you're going to meet along the way. The people you do meet make you do the craziest of things. And that's what I love about everything. So this brings me on to my final point of wrapping things up. And I'll try not get emotional here because it's only been a short few weeks since I left New York myself and took the memories with me. To say I've had the most incredible and eye-opening experience of my life is an understatement. Friends made for life, you know who you are. Thank you for the special moments, for accepting me as one of the lads or as one of the girls. To Aoife, to Carol, Sinead, Neve, Katie, John, Jack, Cormac, Patrick and everyone in between who have made my experience way more enjoyable. Thank you and I love you for everything. To the people listening who want to move to New York when all this blows over, I can't recommend it enough. Just go. Do it. Make that move and rest assured that you're in good hands with the Irish family out there. I'm so proud of our country and how well we look after people abroad. I miss those guys, you know, I miss the small things in the big city. I miss the text messages saying we'll go for a few. I miss the bars, like, you know, the Long Hall, the Factory, the gym, Bank Cafe, Tower Rose. I miss dancing on the bar and the Mean Fiddler. I miss everyone in Bloom's Tavern, from Jackdaw and all the bars in East Village over to the West Side, to the Lavo on Sundays, Marquee on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and dancing on the couch in PhD on Friday. Fuck, I could keep keep going. I mean, this is a real struggle I've had to overcome. Not knowing when things are going to get back to normal and what I do to be starting from scratch, to be buying that bed again, to be making friends, meeting you all over again, because them struggles are nothing compared to what's happening now. But I have hope, I have faith, and I have visions that New York will bounce back stronger than ever. The people are just too strong to let this beat them. And so the city that never sleeps is taking a well overdue nap. But when this animal awakens, the roar will be so loud, the energy unstoppable, and the only Corona in town will be the one on the shelf with the lime and your name on it. Careful, Upper East Siders, we're about to unleash the hounds. You know you love me. XOXO, Gossip Girl.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I wanna be a part of it. New York.